Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri, and our next guests are the stars of the upcoming film Lost Girls, the true story of a mother's search for her daughter in the midst of a discovery of bodies in Long Island. The great Amy Ryan plays Mari Gilbert, a woman searching for her daughter and fighting the police and media for her daughter's dignity as well. Please welcome Amy Ryan and Lola Kirke. Let's hear it. Hey.
Hi.
Mari or Mari Gilbert? Excuse me.
Mari.
Mari, okay. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on the film. It's beautiful. It's an incredible work. The cast is brilliant. Outside of the two of you, everybody in it is someone that I think I've always been like, yes, put them in more things. Yes, put them in more things. From Kevin Corrigan to Thomas and Mackenzie now. What was your first experience with this? Had you read the book? Liz Garbus, this is her first feature film outside of documentaries. So what was the approach like? How did she approach you to be in the film?
I got an invitation from Liz to be a part of the film, and I read the script, and the next day we were in Dumbo meeting for coffee after school drop-off, and I knew instantly I wanted to be a part of it. I was familiar with Liz's work as a documentary filmmaker, and I just found this story so gripping and just maddening that the women in this film just were so dehumanized, and I just wanted to be a part of this story.
Not just the women who were killed were dehumanized, but the mothers were dehumanized, the sisters, the friends. Everybody was looked at as some sort of associate of a sex worker or a sex worker in dehumanizing terms. Yet the film kind of functions as a thriller as well. For you as the actor going in it, how much are you thinking about the thriller elements, or are you thinking about the elements of the dehumanizing aspect of what your character is going through?
I was thinking more about the dehumanizing aspects and the emotional story being told. I left the thriller aspects to our cinematographer and our composer, who I think just did such a stunning job. But so that's the story I was just trying to tell, of being truthful in this harrowing situation.
Lola, talk about the character that you play. She becomes in some ways representative or the image of this thing that is being projected onto all of these women, including the ones that have been killed.
Yeah, I play Kim, who is one of the relatives of the victims and is also a sex worker herself. She kind of treads a very interesting line and is, I think, Mari is kind of weary of her, and she brings a new perspective to this group of women.
What kind of energy did you want to bring to this character? Because she is supposed to be separate and different from all the other women who are in this group.
Yeah, I was really inspired by Bob Kolker's book. The first half of the book, he really focuses on the victims of the Long Island serial killer and their lives before they met this horrible, horrible fate. And I was so inspired by all of these details, like what music they liked and what they wanted to do, like opening hair salons and how much they love their little sisters. So I kind of wanted Kim to be a composite. Even though Kim is a real person, I made her like a composite of all of these women because I wanted them to be more represented in the film. And that was kind of my approach, just taking from lots of different stories.
Mari is a traumatized woman in a way, I think traumatized by her own actions of the past, and also possibly just being a struggling single mother in a small town and working a number of jobs. And I feel like we see that in your performance right at in the top scene. She's on her break having a cigarette, and there's something about the way that you're smoking is that she doesn't know anything yet, but there's something just in the recesses of her mind that's never gone. Was that something that you were thinking about in that scene, or?
Oh yeah, that really struck me. I mean, Mari worked, as you said, a few jobs and single parent, and I think she had a lot of, as really, quite frankly, every mother has a moment of, or more than one moment, like, damn, am I doing this right? How did I mess this up? And so there's a lot of guilt and shame about Shannan, her oldest daughter, who's no longer living with them as the story starts. But I don't know, just getting through her every day, and also having to deal with a daughter at school who's now being suspended, and her life was constantly in motion. She never stopped moving, even just to stop and have a quick cigarette. It's the brain
Shake
that is,
going on.
yeah, she's just dancing as fast as she can.
And then the war that she wages both against media and against the police and the dehumanization of her daughter, Shannan, excuse me, right? Becomes about her as well, which is something that was surprising. I don't want to give too much away, but I think that must have been something that was so rich for you to play as a character rather than just this one idea.
Well,
of what
it's
she's
the
doing.
beauty of someone, we can only dig so deep in our imagination to think about what it's like to get a call that your child has gone missing. And on top of that, not to get any help from police department. That propels her forward. That makes her voice louder. She is dismissed and ignored, as all the other women are, and that just gets her louder and louder.
But the movie also allows her to be wrong at times.
Oh
as
yes,
well.
yeah.
Like
She is not. It's not depicted as Mother of the Year award. It is a very complex portrayal of her, and that's what I love. It's so human.
There's a wonderful scene with Gabriel Byrne, I think, in the middle of the movie, who at times can be dismissive and dehumanizing as well, even though he's the better he's the good cop versus Dean Winters' despicable, kind of disgusting cop. But there is still a moment where Mari has kind of been right in a lot of ways throughout most of the movie, and then somewhere in the middle, there's a scene with you and Gabriel Byrne where he's right, and she sort of comes to grips with the fact that she may be going about this the wrong way or barking up the wrong tree or doing it incorrectly.
Yeah. I mean, that, again, not giving too much away, but it's recognizing parts of yourself along the way. I mean, we have a scene together where Lola's character kind of lays it on the floor for Mari, too, of not quite looking at it in the right way, So I think Mari is confronted with that the entire of the film, which makes it even harder. But she's still, even with those setbacks of someone holding a mirror up to her, she keeps going forward.
Lola, what is it like doing a scene where it's your character's job to give another character their truth? It's a form of exposition in a way, but at the same time, you have to make that believable and action-oriented as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really difficult this is such a difficult subject, and it's hard to kind of break that news to anybody. I mean, I'm always right in my daily life, so telling people that they're wrong is very natural to me. But it was great to work with Amy. I mean, it's a dream. Amy's the best.
In what way? Let's break down, if we can, a little bit that scene with the two of you together. How do you go about that? How do you go about that scene? Are the two of you rehearsing, talking about the script, or do you prefer just getting started, sort of a fresh run?
The one outside, the motel? Yeah, Lola's character in the film, Mari kind of, having maybe not been there for her own child, starts to become pretty maternal with Lola's character, although if I speak for you, you didn't really want it. You didn't ask for it, but we didn't really. Did we rehearse that? I don't know.
Not really. We did end up only doing the one shot of it, though.
Yes, that's right.
Because we were just so good.
We were so good. One take.
You just did one take?
We did one take, yeah, when she's in the chair and I'm leaning against the pole, that scene. And but we spent so much time together on set as well as with our other castmates. It was just this amazing bond. It's very rare, unfortunately, to be on set and there's more than two women, and not counting the hair and makeup department or wardrobe department but so we all formed a bond pretty quickly.
I think I had this conversation with someone last week, Andrea Riseborough, who was talking about a production that she did upstate where it was all women. It was like behind the camera, in front of the camera, the producers, even the financiers were women as well. And I asked how that changes you moving forward when you have to go to the next set that is not all women again. Do you feel more in control? Do you feel like you have an idea of exactly how you want a set to work now, and you're not afraid of stating that, be it women or men on set? How does that change things for you, if at all?
The honest answer, and I've worked with phenomenal male directors.
Of course.
But I will be really honest. I was not afraid to collaborate and throw out an idea and ask a question with women. And that's the truth. I mean, I should work on that more, but
No, you shouldn't.
I-
It's understandable.
but maybe it was just more welcome. I don't know I can't really tell you whether it was from myself being a bit more shy around a male figure in a position of power, or if the my female boss was checking in more on me. How are you doing? What do you want to talk about? We are more of a chatty group, I suppose, but I loved it. I loved working with Liz, and I like that feeling of collaboration in an exploratory way.
Well, do you want to answer that question?
Sure. I mean, I feel really lucky to have worked with a lot of women directors and filmmakers, and I think that that's a unique position that could only be one of an actress who started working within the last 10 years. So it's not that unusual to me. But I definitely agree. I think that being on sets that are helmed by women has made me become much more comfortable throwing out ideas, and I think I'm not like as used to mansplaining, and then when I encounter it, I'm like, oh right, okay, I have to shut up for a while and let them think that they know what they're talking about. And then I just do whatever I want anyway.
We're mostly wrong. We're mostly wrong. Just totally afraid to admit it all the time. Liz Garbus is primarily a documentary filmmaker, award-winning documentary filmmaker. What I loved about her work on this is that you don't get the sense of a documentary filmmaker trying to make their way into narrative. At the risk of generalizing, I feel so often I see that leap be made, and it feels like they're trying to create something on set that feels like a documentary, and they're afraid to compose a pretty shot because they don't know how they're going to capture their actor being off the cuff, whereas this is incredibly well composed. Was that something that you were surprised by, or did you know going into it that Liz was going to be sort of directing that way?
She shared a lot with me. She didn't show specifics, but she shared with me that she and our DP sat down shot by shot, and they had an inspiration for every scene. They had, their lookbook, a color, theme going, tone, and I could feel that on set. But also then they made a lot of room for what was happening on the day. So, like whether suddenly the sky had these beautiful stream of clouds going by, they incorporated that. So they weren't so rigid in their homework, but she was so prepared. She was so prepared in how she wanted this film to look and sound and feel.
Rather than being kind of like, yeah, just show me what you got and we'll throw some handhelds up and we'll cross-shoot it or something.
No, it's very composed.
Yeah. One of my favorite character actors is in the movie, and I always get very excited when he's in something because he doesn't get cast enough. It's Kevin Corrigan, who is...
Love Kevin Corrigan.
Yes.
I had a really big crush on him when he was on that show, Grounded for Life. You remember Grounded for Life?
Is that like a Fox sitcom?
Yeah, and I didn't even really like the show. I just enjoyed him.
Kevin, he's one of those actors, like, he really marches to the beat of his own drummer.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep his thought, like, you're constantly on your toes because you really don't know where he's going, and,
Really?
I kind of can't tell if he's joking or if he's being serious.
Very deadpan.
He's
Like a
he's
young
wonderful.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And never like apologizes or says that he's joking or lets you know that he's deadpanning, just sort of keeps
No, I
coasting?
just think he's really... I just think he's genuinely thinking something through. So it's not self-conscious,
Yeah.
So it's not as if he's toying with you, saying try to figure me out or catch up with me. But he's just so deeply in it. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put Kevin Corrigan, not with this film specifically, but like, I didn't necessarily like this thing that you were in, but I love that Kevin Corrigan is in this and is amazing.
He's a weirdo.
Yes.
And it's nice.
One of our great weirdos. I would
Very,
say.
unique.
Yeah. And Thomasin McKenzie, who plays your daughter, brought All the Tears from My Eyes and Leave No Trace a couple years ago. What was it like working with her? She's still fairly fresh and new.
She's a nightmare.
Yeah. Let's just talk turkey here. Thomasin is, and her whole family, her younger sister joined us. They're the nicest, most
in the
New
grounded.
Zealand, right?
They're
yeah.
from New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
They're like the presidents of New Zealand.
She is one of the most soft-spoken yet extremely strong, gentle, kind-hearted, just creatures you could ever come across. She's just, and just like wonderfully alive and but contained. I can't quite put my finger on what she does, but I know it's really good. It's really good.
You know, often with true crime, both documentaries and movies, there's been a slew of them recently, and they can often be entertaining, but they can also feel at the that they exist at the expense of the victims, and that they're creating thrillers or they're creating entertainment at the expense of victims. And this is very much from the victim's perspective. This is not a thriller that is titillating in any way in regards to the murders. Was that something that was important for you going into making it?
Well, yeah, because you don't want it to be, the next episode of Law and Order in an extended format, and I agree. I think why this works so well is pretty quickly, as the audience, you're taken off course and you're being introduced to the women of the families of the victims, that it starts working on you in this subversive way. Like, I know I felt like when I read it and then when I saw it, I started getting really angry at the injustice that they were experiencing. And I think that's what really sets it apart, that you invest in these women, and not just that they found this bit of evidence here and now they're back at the police station and filing the report, and it's not a whodunit in that way. But
right, you're not following a trail of breadcrumbs to the serial killer. We have those sort of satisfying moments within the film, but primarily the movie is about your character figuring out who she is in relation to her daughter.
Yeah, and also finding family, like. Between all the other female characters, like they do, when I was doing research for the film, I happened upon this NPR report of mothers who lost children to gun violence, and they would meet up like once a year and just have this bond, obviously, because sharing that experience with each other, and it's very similar with this group, like forming a family. And Mary at first is reluctant to join this, but you realize
extremely judgmental.
Yeah, oh, she's terrible. Yeah, and that judging them. But at the end, like you need family.
Right. I mean, even the one of the final shots of the movie is the only time that we are witness to like actual carnage, and that is in no way, it's horrifying, but it's in no way played up to be horrifying in the way that most movies or serial killer movies are, which is an extended sequence of violence that is sort of thrilling and, as much as we don't want to admit it, kind of titillating in a way. This is in no way is that. It's just the carnage of loss and just a body without presence or soul or anything else attached to it.
And injustice.
Yeah. Let's go to questions from the audience. We have a couple questions. The first one is from Sistine. Who's this? Hey, hi.
Hi, Amy, I wanted to know, what did you use to channel the emotions that your character went through as a mother looking for her missing child?
If so much was there at the surface, because it's a real story. I just felt so heartbroken for this family and for Mary. I would think about her a lot and just felt very sad that she wasn't, first of all, that she went through this, and also that she's no longer living.
She tragically died in 2016.
Yeah. And so I feel like the source material was so ripe and so rich. I really didn't have to dig into a little bag of tricks that I have on rainy days. I just had so much compassion for them.
What's in your bag of tricks on rainy days? I'm curious.
Oh, some garlic in the eye.
Okay.
No,
okay, I got you.
No, I don't do that. Puppies being mauled. No.
A video of puppies.
Yeah.
That's what they teach you about in acting school.
That's what you
just send you
How to
links.
Google.
The Juilliard
puppy mills
first year. Dead puppies.
Next one's from Jasmine.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what your experience was like at the office.
On the show?
Yeah.
Oh.
A few things. A couple of times I fortunately become part of a show that I was a big fan of, and The Office is an example of that. And
What are the other ones?
The Wire,
Yes.
and oh, now I'm blanking. What was the? There is one more, but I'll come to it.
High maintenance.
High Maintenance is the other one. Yes.
Should not
And
have
it's-
taken McNulty back.
No.
Sorry.
You
Like,
know.
I love The
It wasn't
Wire.
me. I
Agreed,
was playing-
agreed.
You mean the character I was playing? Shouldn't I?
No, Amy, you should not have taken.
No, absolutely. But it is one of the most joyous places to go to work. I would truly leave with aches in my sides from laughing, and you know, it was so hard to keep a straight face on that set. But
When you signed up for it, did you know that it was going to be as long of a arc as it became, and that you would
no,
eventually
it was just
marry
supposed to be
Michael?
like 1 or 2 episodes. And then they kept saying, "Well, will you come back for another?" I was like, "Sure." You know, so that was fun. I'll do that again.
Congratulations on the film. It's beautiful, incredible work by the two of you, the rest of the cast, and Liz Garbus as well. When does it premiere on Netflix?
March 13th, right?
March 13th, so next week. It's called Lost Girls, March 13th, Netflix. Everybody give Lola and Amy a huge round of applause for being here. Thanks.